in post. Everything is in
Yeah, I
post.
love that too. I just
You
love
know,
that too so
we have
much.
ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of For the Most Part podcast. I know they must be wondering why Louise and Kemi crack it. And we love in post everything after the fact. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Um,
Yes, if you can't
in
fix it on
post,
the spot, fix it
in
in post.
in post is our new favorite too. So we'll start from there. So yeah, so
Okay.
we like putting things in post. That not a lot of things could happen in post in real life, but
True. True.
we
That is
if
so
the doubles
true.
was not so great, we can't put sweet sauce on the doubles in post. We don't eat the doubles. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that doubles no longer exists. It exists in
Yes,
another form.
yes. All right.
It
So
exists.
Louise, walk us through the topic for this week's episode, because I think that what you suggested was
Mhm.
actually such a really enlightening thing. A lot of the performance spaces are now opening back up, and it seems to be like the competition is really tight for for the creatives. So walk us through
Yes, it is.
what we're talking about this today.
Yeah, so today we're just going to talk about any and every performance space in Trinidad and Tobago, right? I mean, we just had a pandemic, obviously. And now that we're out of it, places, of course, are opening with the quickness. Well, they've been open for a while. They've been
Yeah.
open for a while. Yeah. But it's but now that you can really see that performances are really getting into full swing. Um, we had a Christmas Joy this year at Queen's Hall. I don't think they had a Christmas Joy since before the pandemic.
Right.
That's
Right.
yeah. Yeah. But even though there seems to be a demand for like live shows and stuff, I don't think there are enough performance spaces to go around.
Right.
Right.
Understood.
Yeah. Especially when you have obviously gonna have multiple performing groups wanting to occupy the same performance spaces. Right. Because I mean, because these are performance spaces that are designed for the product that they put on for their audiences.
True.
You know? So there is going to be a lot of demand. But what I want to figure out is, how do smaller people, when I say smaller people, like if it is when your group is established, or you're an established musician, and maybe you have money in the bank, or your production company, let me put it like this, your production company or your group has money in the bank to be able to pay for like down payments on a space. Because how much is Queen's Hall? Queen's Hall is, I'm actually
capacity
not
wise,
sure,
right?
but it's definitely, sorry?
Capacity wise, you mean?
No, not capacity, I'm talking about the cost.
I have heard anywhere between 80,000 and 100,000 to rent it for a night. Now, this is my best guess.
Right.
This is back in the day. This was when I was younger, when certain entities were trying to pull together performances on their own. So that's the starting cost to book it for a night. Meaning you had to take out
Right.
3 and 4 loan.
Yeah, well, realistically, that is what has to happen, huh?
Yeah.
Because you're not just renting a physical space. You're renting the fact that it's air conditioned, the fact that it will have clean toilets, the fact that, and obviously, if it's a performing space, like same example, Queen's Hall, Napa, places that are performing arts spaces with all of the infrastructure, the lighting, the sound, everything. You have to pay for that too. You have to pay for that too. And so it must be really hard. If so let's say, by the way, none of what we're saying has been fact checked here. Right? But if you want to comment, if you know.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we are an opinion podcast, people. We are literally just discussing the ideas that were as plain as day, and we want to explore and bouncing ideas off of each other. So I just want to make that 100% clear.
Yes, 100% clear. So let's say I started at I'm going to say 90,000 to rent a space like Queen's Hall. Again, I'm not sure of the price. First of all, how do you even come up with that money? Like, assuming that you're like a fairly new performing arts body, what do you do if you simply cannot access $90,000 just to rent a space? Well, what do you do? Where do you go? What would you consider?
I can think of a couple of options off the bat. But again, this is all speculative. Right. I don't know that this is going to work. I don't know that this is true. I don't know if any entertainment company or group or music school or whatever has done any of these things to do what I'm about to say. A couple of options are fundraisers. The typical thing is a fundraiser. And generally speaking, our ability to, reach out and get help from the community. That's what fundraisers do. A lot of the other private entities may do the loan situation. They may explain to the bank, well, here's what, we're a new entity. We want to throw this concert at Queen's Hall, and the guesstimate price of renting the space for one night is $90,000. But there's always a but. But we estimate that our profits could be anywhere between $20,000 and $30,000. So we could easily pay back the loan. This is my best guess. I don't know again that this is true. A lot of the times, and that's probably why a lot of the concerts that we know that exist in Queen's Hall and Napa and all these places are $500 and $600 per ticket, because they have to break the profit. They also have to break even.
Not all though. Not all.
Yeah, no, not all. But generally speaking, in the general sense, there are a lot of concerts that occur that are between the $300 to $500 mark, and because they have to break even, for one, the cost to rent the space alone is several $1,000s. So,
yes,
you understand what I'm saying? So I would say fundraiser, bank loan. I'm assuming some groups may have a board, so they may utilize, like, if it's you, me, let's say Lyrics and Adriel, for example, that's the board for the most part, and we want to use Queen's Hall. We would pool up whatever funds and access to funds that we have. We would utilize different loans.
We would.
So we would sign off and use I guess like a board director share something. We pull out, we do some returns. I have no idea if any of these things are possible and or true, guys. Again, we are literally just speculating. But those are these three things that I can think of that are ways to access funds. Again, you could take sponsorship. That's the next big one.
That's a big
one. Again, I don't want to call any particular companies because I don't know how they distribute their sponsorship. That's not in my my power to say. But there are big entities who will help sponsor. Maybe not the full cost, but they may provide assistance in getting the basics. They may say, well, all right, if the cost
certainly is a space.
Yeah. They will say, even if the cost is $90,000, we could donate $20,000. That's still $20,000 closer to the goal than zero. And if you keep reaching out to some of these, that's why you'll see 9 and 10 sponsors, because most of the time I would like to assume that those 9 and 10 sponsors put together the 20,000 each. Speculative. To be able for a lot of these groups to rent out these particular spaces. So again, I am highly speculating. I don't know if this is true, but those are my
thing. Is alternatively, what you could do is find a cheaper alternative.
A smaller space then is what you're saying, or less expensive. When I say I shouldn't have said smaller, a cheaper space, something that costs significantly less. Right.
That is what I would suggest. Choose something. Yes, if you dream of something, but the dreams beyond your budget,
Mm,
yeah,
then yeah, yeah. I
you
mean,
kind of have to, drag the dream back a little bit.
yeah. Because what
So
I was
you
gonna
may
say
end up
is
having to.
partly
Mhm.
it's gonna be partly the sacrifice that you're gonna have to make, especially if you now start. You kind of don't want to throw out $90,000 and
Mhm.
you can't break even. You only make $30,000 off of the 90. So sometimes you're gonna have to really think
Yeah,
about the give and take.
you do.
Yeah,
You have to think about the give and take,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
why having to keep it cheap feels like a sacrifice.
yeah, yeah.
But
But
the
question.
beauty of it is, mhm,
Yeah, how do you think the current pandemic situation, well, the reopening of a lot of public venues, we could even let's get
mhm.
small, let's go to bars, public bars, restaurants, and that sort of thing. Do you think musicians and creatives now are able to put on shows that are quality in these small spaces, or do they have to? I mean, I would say don't really go for the big spaces right now, but make that a long-term goal. But do you think that they should start small and then gradually aim towards I'm raising funds to put on a show in Queens Hall 3 4 years down the road? What do you think?
I'd say I'd always say it's better to start somewhere and
Right,
start where you can afford. Start where you can
right.
afford. If all you can afford is somebody's backyard, then you pimp the hell out of that backyard, put up those lovely outdoor lights, pitch a tent, something. But you have to, you have to make do with what you have.
True.
You have to make do with what you have, right? You really, really have to make do with what you have. You
Mm,
really,
mm.
really do. You really, really do.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, last month I went to an open mic that was, it was pretty advertised on Facebook,
Right,
and it
right.
was literally in somebody's backyard.
Mm, mm.
I mean, but
Wow.
it was like how they did it. It was like really tasteful. So it wasn't a bad idea. It wasn't a bad idea. But sometimes starting off small means accepting that you're gonna have to figure out your own seating. If it's an outdoor space, how do you prevent people from getting wet?
Yeah.
Given that there may be limited or no facilities, are you gonna offer refreshments? Or
Mm,
are you not gonna offer refreshments and
yeah.
sell your event as something where there will be no refreshments? I guess no. I guess what I'm saying is when you're able to pay for, I'm going to go back to Queens or I'm going to go back to Napa. These are not things that you have to worry about. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
do the facilities exist? Will the toilets flush? Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so that's what you pay for when you pay for these spaces.
But again, I think I remember we've done several shows in a lot of venues that would considered like um you know the upper, I would say, let's just call it what it is, the upper class kind of spaces, right? We consider the Napas, the Queen Halls, the Sappers, the what else it have? Little Carib Theatre. I mean, these are spaces that performers shoot for to be able to say
Yes.
I had a
Of
show
course, for
here
different
to
reasons, of
different
course,
dance. Yes,
and
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah, yeah,
different
yeah.
users.
Yes,
Like for
yes.
example, um, I mean, based on who you are, is where you'll go. Obviously, I don't expect to see like a large band putting on a show in Little Carib.
Yeah,
I,
yeah, yeah,
I, I
yeah.
don't
Of course,
expect that,
we
right?
yeah, but not only even as for the obvious reason, which is size. The group size will not really
Size,
fit
yes,
on Little Carib Theatre. So it's not, guys.
exactly.
Again, what my statement with the class thing has nothing really to do with class per se, but it was about really seeing and making the choice for some of these bands and entities choosing where they need to perform, because sometimes the kind of crowd that you're gonna pull is probably not the kind of people who will really feel like, I don't want to dress up all the time to go Queen's Hall. You know what I mean? I would rather put on a little, for the most part, jersey and a jeans and go in Kaiser Blues Cafe and sit down and take in the music. I will go to the Queen's Hall shows. But I'm just saying, sometimes that's not all that I want to do. Sometimes my goal performance might just be an acoustic, unplugged thing in the backyard by me, by the pool. That might be it. That might be the goal. You know what I mean? So, yeah. What are your thoughts, Louise? What are your thoughts?
As you said, you had a goal. So any entity that decides to put on a show, I think you need to decide, what is my product? Is my product choral music? Is my product soca music? Is my product, am I a soloist? Am I an orchestra? Am I a steel orchestra? You know, what are you? And then after you figure out what you are, well, obviously you're gonna know what you are from in front. But when you really know what you are, then you already sort of know to yourself, okay, I can't use an outdoor space, or I need a space with a particular type of acoustic.
True.
I mean, one thing I will say though is, if you have a choir, any of the more older churches, when I say older churches, I'm talking about churches with the glorious acoustics. The glorious acoustics. Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. A church could be a great alternative to Queen's Hall.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying to rent a church is cheap. I'm not saying that. Mm-hmm. But it's certainly less pricey.
Right.
Simply less pricey.
So maybe now we're talking about considering, yes, maybe who will attend, but the type of venue that becomes available for what you want to do. Yeah, you know what I mean? I don't think, now again, I'm sure somebody has done this, but I personally don't think that I want to go to Queen's Hall to just sit down and do only a full solo guitar performance. People might want to see more. I could quicker get away with like a full solo guitar performance in a smaller venue, unplugged, as I said before.
Central Bank.
Yes, that's another
Central Bank is great for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's the stage feels small and intimate.
Yeah.
So I could see Central Bank being a place for that for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
But not Queen's Hall.
Yeah. So it is about making the smart choices then.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, because you specifically said a classical guitar soloist, right? Obviously, if you sell hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tickets for your shows easily, by all means, go Queen's Hall.
Yeah.
By all means, if you could bring in those numbers, no one is saying you can't do it.
Yeah.
No one is saying you can't do it. But I also understand what you mean. You mean when you say you don't necessarily want to go Queen's Hall for that alone.
Yeah.
I
would want to consider my options in terms of what kind of show do you want to put on and what size, because putting on a show in Queen's Hall means you need to sell out. Queen's Hall has a lot of seats. You're going to have to put a lot of bodies into those seats if you want to have a good show. And I'm not saying the size of the show matters, but I'm just saying for the effectiveness of, you're putting on a show. You don't want to say, I spent $90,000 and you only get 10 people sitting down in the front row at Queen's Hall. The rest of all, so what you mean is all the other seats empty? Nah. You kind of have to weigh your options. You're going to have to kind of really figure out like, well, if I know that my automatic following is 20 to 30 people, your better bet might be Central Bank and or maybe Cafe, Kaiser Blues Cafe, and some of the other smaller venues. But yeah, so that's I think that's just one of the other things that we need to consider when putting on a show. And I've done several shows in the past, and I think the one thing that I can learn is that, like, your first couple shows, you're not really gonna make enough money. Throw that idea away. Your objective with your first couple of shows is to bring a following, bring a crowd, and kind of say, this is who I am, this is what I do. Right? An example, perfect example. I did Feel the Vibes with Oprah Merrill, and the dynamic, the idea behind that show was not about really making plenty money, but we were able to really fill the house was full. We had to squeeze. This was when
Kaiso was just still close to the embassy.
Yes. And we had to be moving through crowds and like this, and I remember.
It
was amazing. It was absolutely mind blowing to me. And again, it was not about making the money, but it was about the fact that we pulled people.
Yes.
And that's what you want to do. You want to, when you're putting on a show, you are able to grab your audience, and have that following. And I think that once you develop that following, you'd be able to start off with the other places as well.
Yes, and that's the thing. Even before you think about, where am I going to put my show? Think about your following. If you know that, let's say NC has 5,000 fans on Facebook. This isn't the biggest following in the world, but let's say this is what you have, right? Yeah. And you can reasonably expect 100 people to pull out their hard-earned money for a ticket to your show.
Right.
I think after that, well, obviously, before you sell your tickets, you book your venue. Right? Or at least make arrangements for a venue. But at the very least, that first show, I think once you market properly and you see where your gaps are in marketing, I think like by the second or third, you should know to yourself, all right, even though my following on Facebook is 5,000, I know that if I put on a show, and not just any show, if I put on this particular type of show at this time of year with a particular theme,
and maybe guest artists too.
Yes, and maybe guest artists. That's another great way to get people to come to the show. It is. Yeah,
it's kind of like co-marketing in a way. So me and Louise decided we're gonna put on a show. We basically depending on each other for those invites,
Yeah. So exactly. But let's say we were to get someone like mega famous to pass through and do like a 30-minute set. Just gonna throw a name, Mariah Carey, randomly shows up in Trinidad. Hey, Kemi, here
all I want for Christmas is you.
Yeah, home marketing at its finest. Home marketing at its finest. But don't just use home marketing for the sake of using home marketing.
Yeah,
right?
True.
Because I just used a very outlandish example, like Mariah Carey. But she's Mariah Carey, and we are who we are. Is her music gonna for what let's go, right? Is her style going to complement ours? Right? And yes, we started talking about performing arts spaces, but now we're kind of getting into planning a show in general, right? But so yes, do your home marketing, but get a whole that is related to your brand. Am I allowed to say it like that?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Whole market someone who complements your brand.
Yeah. Basically, that's what it boils down to. I think that's a real good point, because again, and people now kind of see me on the parent screen. For example, this is just, as a start. People don't associate me with parang music, but people are now shocked to see that are there. So it's gonna be kind of odd if I say I go and put on a Christmas show, like just so, and they know I don't really sing Christmas music, but you know they see and they're doing the parang so it's gonna be like a little bit of a shock. So my first tactic would not be like sing a whole set of Christmas music, because I don't do the whole Christmas season in that sense, you know what I mean? But what I will do is pick a lovely set of music that a bunch of originals, a bunch of pop rock covers like the Bruno Mars, the Sam Smiths, and then throw in, you know, a little Stevie Wonder. That's also what's going to make your, because again, another and this conversation is helping bring me thoughts, you know what I mean? The kind of covers that you do, or kind of songs that you perform, or the kind of content that you put out is what is going to make people want to come to you. And what I've seen is, like, if you do a real popular cover that people like, and you tell them I'll be performing this popular cover at this particular event, they will be there. Why? Because they want to see you live. They're my business about the other songs, you know. They want to see that one song perform live because they do it real jet.
Just remember that this may not represent a large fraction of your following.
Yeah.
But right? Something could go viral, but doesn't always translate to, oh, the whole world saw it, therefore the whole world is gonna come. Yeah. But if your following is, you know, pretty loyal and they like you, a fraction of them will come. A fraction of them will come just on the strength of hearing that amazing cover that you did.
Yeah, for real.
But you have to cultivate that following. You really need to cultivate that following. Yeah. Not just by posting, not just by your presence on social media or like in public in general, but when your following comes to your show, they're coming to greatness. They're coming to see excellence. That's how you keep your following.
I think that's a great way to end this particular episode. They come in to see greatness. Listen, this episode is about greatness. Guys, that's a wrap for this episode. Drop a comment, tell us what you think about what we've discussed today. And that's it. Louise, thanks for joining us as per usual. More to come, because we haven't seen Louise since season 4. Season 4? Have you been on this season?
Yeah. I haven't.
So season 4. Louise will be here for the rest of season 5. I'm just letting you know.
But I will.
Right.
I'll have better lighting next time, guys.
All right, guys. Well, that's it. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and we will see y'all and we will hear y'all on the next one. Peace out, guys.
Peace out, guys.